Imagine your sister-in-law hijacking your wedding day by wearing white and accidentally destroying your $2,000 cake just to steal the spotlight. Most brides would scream, but Donna stayed silent and plotted a revenge so cold it froze an entire baby shower. She didn't just ruin the party, she exposed a fake pregnancy that shattered the family. But what happened next is best told by Donna, from her own perspective. My name is Donna, and if you looked up pathological people pleaser in the dictionary, you'd probably find my high school yearbook photo. I'm the woman who apologizes when someone else bumps into me at the grocery store. I'm the one who stays late at the office to fix the printer so the morning crew doesn't have to deal with it. And for the last 5 years, I've been the devoted, silent shield protecting my husband, Mark, from the chaos that is his younger sister, Jessica. I always wanted a sister. I grew up as an only child, dreaming of late-night chats, borrowing clothes, and having a built-in best friend. When I met Mark, he warned me. He sat me down on our third date, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "My family is great, but Jessica is a lot." I thought he was exaggerating. He wasn't. Jessica suffers from what I call terminal main character syndrome. She physically recoils if the conversation drifts away from her for more than 30 seconds. If you have a headache, she has a brain tumor. If you got a promotion, she just got scouted by a modeling agency that turns out to be a scam. The first time I realized how dangerous she was, it was the night Mark proposed. He had rented out the private room at Le Jardin, our favorite French bistro. There were candles everywhere, soft jazz playing. It was perfect. He got down on one knee, pulled out the ring box, and I felt the tears welling up. But before I could even say yes, we heard a crash. Jessica, who had insisted on being there to take photos, had collapsed onto the floor, knocking over a waiter and a tray of champagne flutes. The proposal was over. We spent the next 4 hours in the ER waiting room while she moaned about heart palpitations and fuzzy vision. The doctors ran every test imaginable. The diagnosis, dehydration, and a desperate need for attention. By the time we got home, the moment was gone. Mark's parents, Linda and Bob, just patted her hand and said, "Poor Jessie, she's just so sensitive to excitement." That was the dynamic. Jessica lit fires and the rest of us choked on the smoke. Then there was the money. About a year before the wedding, she called us crying hysterically. She said her transmission had blown, she couldn't get to work, and she was going to lose her job. Mark and I had been saving aggressively for a house, but we couldn't let his sister lose her livelihood. We wired her $5,000 that afternoon. 2 days later, I saw it on Instagram. No picture of a repaired car, just a photo of Jessica posing with a brand new Louis Vuitton tote bag. Caption, "Treat yourself, deserved." When I showed Mark, he turned pale. We confronted her, and she had the audacity to say, "Well, taking the bus is actually better for the environment, so I made an executive decision. Why are you being so materialistic, Donna?" Mark's parents told us to drop it. "It's just money," Linda said. "You know she's not good with finances. Be the bigger person." So I was. I swallowed my anger. I buried the resentment. I focused on planning my wedding, telling myself that for one day, just one single day, Jessica would have to take a back seat. I was the bride. It was my turn. I was so incredibly naive. The morning of the wedding, I actually let myself believe everything was going to be fine. The weather was perfect. A crisp, sunny October afternoon. My hair and makeup artist had worked miracles. I looked in the mirror and felt for the first time in years like the main character in my own life. We were at the altar. The organist had just finished the prelude. The guests were seated. The heavy oak doors at the back of the sanctuary began to creak open. I was standing there, heart pounding, waiting for the signal to walk down the aisle. But the doors didn't open for me. They opened for Jessica. She was 45 minutes late. That wouldn't have been a disaster on its own. But as she stepped into the entryway, a collective gasp rippled through the pews. It started as a murmur and grew into a distinct, horrified silence. Jessica was wearing a floor-length Chantilly lace gown with a sweetheart neckline and a small train. It was beautiful. It was elegant, and it was blindingly, starkly white. It wasn't champagne. It wasn't blush. It was bridal white. In fact, it looked disturbingly similar to the dress I was currently wearing. She walked down the center aisle, not the side aisle, the center aisle, like she was practicing for her own coronation. She waved at a few cousins, adjusted her hair, and squeezed into the front row next to her parents. I saw Mark's jaw tighten at the altar. I saw my mother clutching her purse so hard her knuckles turned white. I stood in the vestibule, trembling. My maid of honor whispered, "Do you want me to spill red wine on her? Say the word, Donna. I'll do it." "No," I whispered, forcing a smile that felt like it was going to crack my face. "She wants a reaction. I'm not giving her one." I walked down the aisle. I married the man I loved. I refused to look at the front row. I thought I had won. I thought I had survived the worst of it. Then came the reception. We had splurged on one thing above all else, the cake. It was a 5-tier architectural masterpiece from a celebrity bakery in the city. Lemon elderflower sponge with Swiss meringue buttercream, adorned with cascading handcrafted sugar orchids. It cost $2,200. It wasn't just dessert, it was the centerpiece of the ballroom. Around 18 p.m., the DJ announced the cake cutting. Mark and I walked over to the table. The photographer was directing us, adjusting the lighting to get the perfect shot. The room quieted down. It was intimate. It was ours. Suddenly, I heard the click-clack of heels on the parquet floor, moving fast. Wait! I need a selfie for the gram!" Jessica yelled. She came barreling toward us, phone held high in the air, not looking where she was going. She stepped on the hem of her lace train, the white one, and lunged forward. It happened in slow motion. She didn't fall to the floor. She fell into the table. Her shoulder checked the cake stand with the force of a linebacker. The $2,200 masterpiece wobbled for a split second, and then total devastation. The tiers separated. The top 3 layers slid off and smashed onto the floor in a heap of fondant and frosting. The bottom layers were crushed under Jessica's weight as she caught herself on the table, burying her hands and the front of her stolen bridal gown into the cake. The room went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. I stood there, a piece of sugar orchid lying at my feet. My shoes were splattered with lemon curd. Then Jessica started laughing. It wasn't a nervous laugh. It was a loud, hysterical cackle. She wiped a glob of frosting off her cheek and licked it. "Oops," she squealed, looking around at the horrified guests. "I'm just so clumsy. Oh my God, look at me. I'm a mess. Someone take a picture." Mark helped her up, asking if she was hurt. Her parents rushed over, fussing about her dress being ruined. "Oh, honey, are you okay? That table was wobbly," Linda cried, immediately defending her. But I wasn't looking at the cake. I was looking at Jessica's eyes. For a brief second, before she put the ditzy airhead mask back on, she looked directly at me, and she smirked. A cold, sharp, satisfied smirk. She didn't trip. She didn't lose her balance. She saw that all eyes were on me, and she decided to physically destroy the symbol of my celebration. That was the moment the good sister died. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just nodded, handed Mark a napkin, and walked away. But as I walked to the bathroom to clean the cake off my shoes, I made a silent vow. "You want attention, Jessica?" I thought. "I promise you, I'm going to give you more attention than you can handle." We left for our honeymoon the next morning. I tried to focus on the turquoise waters of St. Lucia, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw that smirk. I saw the white dress. I saw the cake collapsing. We came back 2 weeks later, refreshed and ready to start our life. I posted a few honeymoon photos on Facebook, sunsets, cocktails, Mark and I smiling on a boat. The comments were pouring in. "Beautiful couple." "So happy for you." It was nice. Then, exactly 3 hours after my post, my phone blew up. Jessica. "Big news!" She had posted a photo of a positive pregnancy test with the caption, "God works in mysterious ways." Despite the doctors saying it was impossible, our little miracle is coming this spring. Blessed miracle baby, mom life. Just like that, my honeymoon was old news. The family group chat exploded. Mark's parents were weeping with joy. "A grandbaby! Finally!" Linda texted, adding a dozen heart emojis. The wedding disaster was instantly forgiven. Who cares about a cake when there's a miracle baby on the way? But something felt off. I knew Jessica. I knew she had been complaining about infertility issues for years, mostly whenever someone else in the family had good news. But I also knew she was on birth control pills because I had picked up her prescription for her a month ago when she couldn't make it to the pharmacy. Over the next few weeks, the red flags started piling up. First, there was the drinking. At a family dinner, she poured herself a glass of what she claimed was sparkling apple cider. I was sitting next to her. I smelled the distinct yeasty aroma of fermentation. It was cheap champagne. When I glanced at her, she quickly covered the glass and said, "It's organic cider, Donna. It smells different." Then the physical symptoms didn't add up. She complained about terrible back pain and swollen ankles at only 8 weeks. Yet when she dropped her keys in the driveway, she bent over at the waist with the flexibility of a gymnast to pick them up, then remembered to grab her back and groan when she stood up. Her due date was a moving target. First it was April, then late March, then the doctor says he might come early. The smoking gun came on a Tuesday. I was at her apartment helping her declutter for the nursery. This was part of my new strategy. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I was playing the role of the supportive aunt-to-be perfectly. "I need to run to the leasing office to grab a package," Jessica said, grabbing her keys. "Be right back. Don't touch my snacks." She left. Her phone was sitting on the kitchen island, screen up, unlocked. I knew it was wrong. I knew it was an invasion of privacy. I didn't care. I tapped the screen. A notification was sitting right there from a contact named Sarah Elite Agency. The transfer was successful. Heartbeat confirmed. Please send the second installment of the agency fee by Friday. My blood ran cold. I opened the thread. It wasn't a doctor. It was a surrogacy agency. I scrolled up, and there it was, in black and white. Jessica wasn't pregnant. She had hired a surrogate in a different state to carry the baby, but that wasn't the crime. Surrogacy is a beautiful thing. The crime was the lie she was selling to her family. I found an email confirmation in her trash folder for an order from a theatrical supply company. Order, Nara 4492, silicone maternity belly, trimester bundle, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. Total, $450. She was faking the pregnancy physically. She planned to wear prosthetics for 9 months, soak up the attention, the baby showers, the glowing mother compliments, and then presumably disappear for a private birth and come back with the baby the surrogate delivered. She was lying to her parents. She was lying to Mark. She was lying to everyone to steal the spotlight. I took photos of everything: the texts, the agency contract, the receipt for the fake belly. I airdropped them to my phone and deleted the evidence of the transfer. When Jessica walked back in, clutching a package, I was folding a baby blanket. "Did you find everything okay?" she asked, eyeing her phone. "Yes," I smiled, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Just picturing you with a big belly. You're going to be the center of attention for months." Her eyes lit up. "I know, right? Finally." "Oh, Jessica," I thought. "You have no idea. I didn't confront her that day. Confronting a narcissist in private is useless. They just gaslight you, deny the evidence, and spin a new lie before you can blink. No, to take down someone like Jessica, you can't just win the argument. You have to burn the stage down while they're standing on it. I needed an audience." And she handed it to me on a silver platter. 2 months later, Jessica announced she wanted a royal baby-themed shower. Not just a party, a coronation. She wanted it at the country club. She invited 50 people: Mark's conservative, traditional parents, her wealthy influencer friends, and half the church congregation. "I'm just too exhausted to plan the tech stuff," she sighed dramatically at Sunday dinner, rubbing her silicone-padded stomach. "I really wanted a video montage of my journey, something tear-jerking." "I'll do it," I said instantly. Mark looked at me, surprised. "Are you sure, honey? After everything?" "Absolutely," I said, reaching over to squeeze Jessica's hand. "It's a miracle, baby. It deserves a tribute." Jessica beamed. "Make sure you include the ultrasound pics and music. I want Ed Sheeran." For the next 3 weeks, I was the model sister-in-law. I scanned photos, I edited video clips, I built the slideshow. It started beautifully. Baby pictures of Jessica, photos of her and her husband, the wedding. And then, for the grand finale, I inserted the special content. I synced the music perfectly. I tested the projector. I checked the audio levels. I packed my laptop. The trap was set. The day of the shower, the country club function room looked like Versailles threw up on a nursery. There were gold balloons, velvet tablecloths, and a literal throne rental where Jessica sat, rubbing her 6-month belly and accepting gifts. 50 people watched as she opened box after box, a $1,000 stroller, a crystal mobile, cash envelopes. She wiped away fake tears, saying, "I just feel so blessed that my body could do this. It's been so hard, but so worth it." My mother-in-law, Linda, was beaming. "You are glowing, honey, just glowing." I stood by the AV cart in the back, sipping my iced tea. "Okay, everyone," I announced into the microphone. "If I could have your attention, I've put together a little tribute to Jessica's journey." The lights dimmed. The room went quiet. Jessica smiled smugly, expecting a montage of her best angles. The video started. Soft piano music played over photos of Jessica as a baby, then her wedding photos. The guests awed. Jessica blew me a kiss. Then the slide changed. The music cut out completely. Projected on the 10-foot screen in high-definition resolution was the email receipt. Order confirmation, theatrical silicone belly, strap-on model, size 6 months, cost $450. A murmur rippled through the crowd. "What is that?" someone whispered. Before Jessica could react, the next slide clicked over, the screenshots of her texts with the surrogate. Jessica: "Make sure you don't post any bump pics on Facebook. I'm telling everyone I'm carrying it so I get the push present from Mark. LOL. Surrogate: "Okay, but are you going to tell your parents eventually?" Jessica: "God, no. They'd never buy me the crib if they knew I wasn't suffering for it." The silence in the room was deafening. It was heavy, suffocating silence. "Donna!" Jessica shrieked, struggling to get out of the throne. "Turn it off. It's a virus. My phone was hacked." She ran toward the screen, trying to block the image with her body, but it just projected the text onto her white maternity dress. Mark stood up. He didn't look at the screen. He looked at his sister. He walked over to her, his face unreadable. "Jessica," he said calmly, "lift up your shirt." "What? No, you're crazy. Donna faked this," she screamed, backing away. Linda, my mother-in-law, stepped forward. She looked at the screen, then at her daughter. She reached out and touched Jessica's stomach. She felt the hard, rubbery silicone. With a swift yank, Linda pulled the hem of Jessica's maternity tunic up. There was no skin, just a peach-colored foam pad strapped to her torso with heavy-duty buckles. The gasp that went through the room sucked all the air out of the building. You lied," Linda whispered, her voice shaking with humiliation. "To all of us, to the church, to your friends." The guests didn't wait for an explanation. They started grabbing their purses. The wealthy influencer friends were the first to leave, whispering furiously about scammers. The church ladies followed, leaving their gifts on the tables but taking their dignity. Jessica stood there, the foam belly exposed, sobbing. Not tears of remorse, but tears of a narcissist who had lost her audience. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. I simply unplugged my laptop, walked over to the dessert table, and cut myself a slice of cake. This time, nobody smashed it. I sat in the corner, took a bite, and watched the kingdom crumble. It was the sweetest cake I've ever tasted. That silence in the room really speaks volumes, doesn't it? Donna finally reclaimed her peace, but at a heavy cost to the family dynamic. I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think Donna was justified in exposing the secret so publicly, or should she have handled it privately? Who was truly in the wrong here? Now, please remember that the story you just watched is a dramatization crafted specifically for societal reform and educational awareness. We present these intense scenarios not as a guide for revenge, but as a warning. The manipulation and deceit shown here can destroy real relationships, and we urge you never to repeat these negative behaviors in your own life. Real connection comes from honesty, not attention-seeking. If you learned something valuable from this video, please subscribe and hit the bell icon to join our community daily. See you in the next story.